Led to article after article of people being like, Ellen is a nasty person. And all these staffers started to come out, not for nothing, but I know a guy, I know him very well, whose sister worked for her, who said, you were not allowed to make eye contact with Ellen in the halls of that show. If you saw her, this is not a nice person. So she eventually got canceled, but now she's coming back.
Ellen DeGeneres. The name itself used to conjure images of pure, unadulterated joy, infectious dance moves, and a beaming smile that could supposedly melt ice caps. For nearly 2 decades, she was the undisputed queen of daytime, building an empire on a platform of positivity and a message drilled into the cultural consciousness. Be kind. Her show wasn't just interviews and segments. It was a feeling, a brand, a lifestyle. Posters, mugs, t-shirts, the phrase "be kind" was everywhere, synonymous with Ellen herself. Audiences saw her as authentic, relatable, someone who truly embodied the goodness she preached. It was a carefully constructed image, a dazzling edifice built on charm, relentless positivity, and the seemingly simple idea that kindness could conquer all. But, as is often the case with structures built on illusion, the foundation was allegedly far less solid than it appeared from the outside.
I have a question for you on this. This is perfect for you. Because I'm seeing this week that there is an attempted comeback by somebody who did not cross one of those fateful lines of the misstepping on their sacred cows of gender or race or sexuality.
Yeah.
But she was said to be a nasty biatch, and that's Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah.
So her show got canceled after she had this testy exchange with Dakota Johnson, where something happened where Dakota said, oh, I had this birthday party. And Ellen said, well, why didn't you invite me? You didn't invite me. And she said, like, no, I did invite you, Ellen. That's not what happened. And Ellen had blown her off and then tried to play the victim on the set with her. Anyway, it led to article after article of people being like, Ellen's a bitch.
Beneath the surface of the dance parties and celebrity guests, whispers began to circulate, not about major scandals initially, but about a pervasive atmosphere backstage that seemed strangely at odds with the on-screen persona. The first significant public crack in the facade, the moment that seemed to pierce the bubble of manufactured niceness, came during a seemingly innocent interview with actress Dakota Johnson. Dakota mentioned her birthday party, and Ellen, in a moment that felt jarringly awkward and passive-aggressive, responded by claiming she hadn't been invited. Live on national television, Dakota calmly but firmly pushed back, stating clearly, "No, I did invite you, Ellen. That's not what happened." She even added that Ellen had been out of town. It was a small exchange, easily overlooked by some, but for many it was a pivotal moment. It felt real, unscripted in a way the show rarely was, and it revealed a side of Ellen that felt less than gracious, less than kind. It was a tiny tear in the curtain, and others would soon follow.
And I think also
I'm
to
just
admit
like,
your
of
mistakes.
all people on earth to be feeling sorry for herself, Ellen DeGeneres should not be on the list.
She should at least, but make a real apology and do it.
There's no apology. It's just woe is me. I was run out of Hollywood as she speaks from this grandiose stage on Netflix. Hello, you haven't been canceled if you are doing a Netflix special. She got $20 million for the one before this. I'm sure she's fine.
I'm sure she's fine.
Following the Dakota Johnson incident, the whispers intensified, morphing into a chorus of detailed allegations from former employees and people connected to the show. The stories weren't isolated incidents. They painted a consistent, deeply troubling picture of a toxic work environment. Reports surfaced of staff being overworked, underpaid, and subjected to mistreatment and intimidation. The now infamous eye contact rule became a symbol of this alleged culture. The claim that you weren't allowed to look the host in the eye if you encountered her in the halls. Think about that for a moment. A workplace so allegedly steeped in fear that basic human interaction, a simple glance, was discouraged. Stories of demanding behavior, unpredictable moods, and a general sense of walking on eggshells became commonplace. One former staffer, speaking through a relative known to commentator Rob Schneider, allegedly described Ellen with stark, unflattering terms, calling her a piece of shti and a monster. These weren't just disgruntled employees. These were widespread accounts suggesting a systemic issue, a fundamental disconnect between the public face and the private reality.
We're going to let her back in, Rob, because she's a lesbian, she's a leftist, and she didn't hit one of their sacred cows. Nastiness, that's their bread and butter.
Well, I think everyone, I mean, I will say, like, the resentment, I think everyone should have a chance for reconciliation. I don't think Jesus exempted anybody. And so I do, while it does, because I have been allowed back in, but I don't hold any grievance and resentment. It's very important. And I would just say for Ellen, the resentment, you have to know, you have to get over resentment to whatever addiction or addictive qualities happen. To get over it, you have to deal with resentment and
the weight of these allegations, fueled by social media and mounting press coverage, proved too much for even the most powerful daytime brand. The constant drip of negative stories eroded public trust. Viewers who had adored Ellen's kindness felt betrayed by the alleged reality. Ratings plummeted. Sponsors grew uneasy. The show, a cornerstone of daytime television, was eventually canceled. For a time, Ellen DeGeneres seemed to disappear from the spotlight, her reign ending not with a celebratory farewell, but under a cloud of accusations and damaged reputation. Many felt this was a necessary consequence, a form of accountability for the alleged harm caused behind the scenes.
She's got a Netflix special. That's the right response.
Yeah.
She's got a Netflix special. And here's the capper. On the promo, she plays the victim. And she says, "For me." And she actually has the nerve to say that she was run out of Hollywood. This person...
With $100 million in her pocket.
$450 million, according to Forbes. That's a low estimate.
Yeah.
Because, so now she's out there saying, I was run out of Hollywood. She's actually reportedly complaining about how hard it is for women in America with the double standards.
Look at Oprah, how hard it is for her.
Oh, she's got, like 10 houses, Ellen DeGeneres?
Michelle Obama, look how hard it is for women in America. They're hurting.
They're going to let her back in.
But silence is rarely permanent in the world of celebrity. True to the cyclical nature of fame, Ellen has begun an attempted comeback, notably with a high-profile Netflix comedy special. And this return has ignited fresh controversy, primarily because of the narrative she seems to be adopting. In promotional material and interviews surrounding her comeback, Ellen has reportedly framed herself as a victim, someone who was unfairly run out of Hollywood. She has been quoted complaining about the difficulty of her situation, even reportedly drawing comparisons to other successful, wealthy women like Oprah Winfrey or Michelle Obama, and highlighting perceived double standards for women in America. This perspective has struck many as utterly tone-deaf, particularly given her immense fortune. Reports estimate her net worth conservatively around $450 million, potentially much higher considering assets like art collections and real estate. To claim victimhood from a position of such extraordinary wealth and privilege, while having just landed a lucrative streaming deal, feels, to say the least, deeply dissonant.
With a single tweet, a user asked his followers to share the craziest stories they'd heard about Ellen being rude, and what followed was pure chaos. It was like watching thousands of people piece together a giant puzzle of bad behavior. One user replied with, quote, "I worked at Real Food Daily, served her and Portia at brunch. She wrote a letter to the owner and complained about my chipped nail polish. Not that it was on her plate, but just that it was on my hand. I had worked till the closing night before, and it was just the next morning. Almost got me fired."
Leading the charge in dismantling this comeback narrative are two figures who make for an incredibly unlikely, yet strangely effective tag team, Megyn Kelly and Rob Schneider. Megyn Kelly, known for her sharp, no-nonsense approach, forged in the high-stakes world of news and political commentary, brought a journalist's precision to the discussion. She treated Ellen's situation like an investigation, using her platform to methodically dissect the alleged hypocrisy. Kelly wasn't interested in emotional appeals. She focused on the facts, the contrast between the be kind image and the alleged reality, the immense wealth versus the claim of being run out, the manufactured apology versus genuine remorse. She saw Ellen's public expressions of regret not as true contrition, but as a calculated corporate maneuver, a PR defibrillator attempting to restart a flatlining brand. For Kelly, authenticity is paramount, and allegedly faking it while building an empire made the downfall not just understandable, but necessary accountability. She approached it with the clean, critical cut of a scalpel, exposing the underlying structure of the alleged deception.
the Ellen situation.
Yeah.
You know, people found out that Ellen was mean, and all these people came out and said, Ellen's actually a bitch. And they were like, whoa,
Yeah.
I can't believe it. And she lost everything. She fell apart, disappeared, because people found out that this character that she was portraying in a half an hour on a television show is not really who she was. My buddy Greg, who was one of her writers, was like, she's a piece of shit. And he was like, she's a monster.
Rob Schneider, on the other hand, approaches the situation with the chaotic energy of a comedian. Known for his irreverent style and willingness to embrace the absurd, Schneider's critique is less a dissection and more a demolition derby. He doesn't tiptoe, he crashes in, using humor and exaggeration to highlight the alleged ridiculousness and toxicity of the Ellen Show environment. Schneider has described the alleged workplace culture with dark comedic flourishes, painting it as a hostage situation wrapped in a talk show, a pastel-colored military base run by Stepford interns. He's weaponized specific, widely circulated anecdotes, like the infamous cue cards incident, turning them into savage bits. He even recounted a story shared by a user on Twitter where a person claimed to have served Ellen and Portia at brunch and was reported to the owner for having chipped nail polish, not on the food, but just on their hand, nearly costing them their job. Schneider uses these examples, often delivered with a mix of disbelief and mockery, to underscore the alleged pettiness and demanding nature behind the scenes. His approach is the comedic equivalent of setting the whole thing on fire and watching it burn for laughs, using absurdity to cut through the carefully managed facade.
Have they made progress with the strike?
They're picketing right now, so I think it's the early stages. I would think it might take a little bit with this one.
When someone crosses the writer strike, that's some dirty shit. Do they cross the picket line?
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody doing that yet.
I think Ellen did. I had a buddy of mine who was writing on Ellen. Everybody kind of knows now what she's really all about. And that's another one of those. Like, I'm so nice and I'm so sweet. Being behind the scenes.
What makes their combined assault on Ellen's image so potent is the stark irony at the heart of her brand. The Be Kind message wasn't just a slogan, it was a massive commercial enterprise. The shirts, the mugs, the throw pillows, they were everywhere. A tangible representation of her positive philosophy. But when stories emerged of alleged mistreatment, intimidation, and a culture of fear backstage, that merchandise took on a completely different, almost sinister connotation. The pillows embroidered with Be Kind felt less like heartwarming home decor and more like a passive-aggressive jab. A constant reminder of the public image that allegedly masked a very different reality. Megyn Kelly saw this as the ultimate hypocrisy, framing the brand as a carefully engineered, smiley smokescreen designed to deflect from the alleged truth. Rob Schneider saw it as fodder for dark comedy, highlighting the disconnect between the cheerful product line and the alleged misery of the people supposedly helping produce it. The commercialization of kindness in the face of alleged unkindness became the brand's most damning weakness.
People would have been pleasantly surprised to find out I'm kind.
Well, yeah, that's disingenuous. That's disingenuous.
Yeah, disingenuous.
Disgenerous. That's disgenerous. Well, I think you should. I mean, there's certainly no lack of. I don't sense any humility.
No.
In that.
No. And no one cares that now she's dealing with chickens. It's like, all right,
You're a normal $450 million person.
And by the way, I guarantee you she's
Who's
worth
taking
a
care
lot
of her
more.
chickens? I guarantee. What's that? You guarantee what?
She's worth a lot more than $450 million.
Her art alone.
And like those talk show hosts.
Her devil-worshipping art alone.
This situation extends beyond just Ellen DeGeneres. It serves as a powerful case study in the broader landscape of celebrity culture and the often vast chasm between public image and private reality. Many celebrities cultivate carefully managed personas, presenting a curated version of themselves to the world. Ellen's alleged downfall exposed how fragile these constructs can be, particularly when the reality behind the scenes is dramatically different from the image being sold. It highlights the performance aspect of modern celebrity, where authenticity is often manufactured, and kindness can become just another product to market. Ellen, with her ubiquitous Be Kind message, became the most prominent example of what can happen when the alleged reality is the polar opposite of the carefully crafted narrative.
Too much. I can't stand these rich celebrities who want us to feel sorry for them. We don't, right? It's like all those you saw, like Julia Roberts on the Oprah special with Kamala Harris, like, oh, and Meryl Streep. Like,
I know, winning over the hearts of people who live in gated communities everywhere.
Well, wait, are these still your people? Are you still in California?
No, I had to move out of California because I got little kids. And
we understand why.
It's dangerous to, in California, take your kids, in public schools. In the morning you drop off a girl, in the afternoon you pick up a boy. You never know what you're going to get.
The sheer incongruity of Megyn Kelly and Rob Schneider teaming up to critique Ellen is part of what makes the takedown so compelling. They exist in different universes. Kelly operates with journalistic rigor and political commentary. Schneider thrives on stand-up and absurdist humor. Their audiences, their perspectives, their methods, they couldn't be more different. Yet, despite these vast differences, they both arrived at the same fundamental conclusion. Ellen DeGeneres was not, allegedly, the person she claimed to be on television. Kelly used facts and logic to dismantle the narrative, while Schneider used humor and alleged anecdotes to mock the hypocrisy. Neither seems to have any obvious personal vendetta or anything significant to gain from this criticism, which lends their commentary a certain credibility. It feels less like a calculated attack and more like two disparate voices independently pointing out the same uncomfortable truth. So, what is the lasting impact of this saga? The gleaming temple of kindness that was the Ellen brand has been exposed as, allegedly, little more than a facade. The carefully managed public image, the tearful goodbyes on her final season, the attempts to control the narrative, they all feel less like genuine expressions and more like strategic maneuvers now. As Megyn Kelly pointed out, the comeback attempts, framed through the lens of victimhood, seem to lack any humility and ring hollow to those who remember the allegations. The Be Kind message, once a symbol of positivity, is now often met with cynicism, a reminder of the alleged disconnect. The public isn't just passively accepting the performance anymore. They're scrutinizing it, searching for the alleged truth behind the smile. Ellen may fade into the background, perhaps managing her substantial wealth and focusing on other ventures. But the legacy of the show is forever marked by the alleged stories from behind the scenes. It serves as a cautionary tale for any public figure building an empire on a carefully crafted image. If that image is based on a performance of kindness that doesn't match the reality, eventually, someone, perhaps an unlikely duo like a sharp journalist and a chaotic comedian, will turn on the lights and the illusion will shatter, leaving behind not a temple of joy, but a gift shop attached to a haunted house.